Hello. Today's lesson is asking you to look at two extracts from various writers to develop an understanding of the design or teleological argument and the cosmological argument. Now, this will involve you reading through the sources that I've attached to the lesson and coming up with four knowledge points, KU points, that you could use in the exam. Basically, for both of these extracts, they explain the either the teleological or the cosmological argument in their kind of basic or earliest forms. And what you need to do is just read through them and try and get a good understanding of them. In order to help you do that, as you can see, I've added some, I've highlighted some of the words in bold that you may find challenging or you may not be totally aware of the meaning, and you can find the definitions underneath. And for both of them, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to read through both of the extracts so that you can kind of hear them out loud and maybe go through some of the confusing terminology, the confusing words that are used. So we'll start off with William Paley's explanation of the teleological or the design argument from his book Natural Theology, which was published around about 200 years ago. So what I've done is I've taken certain extracts. So this isn't a kind of continuous prose from the book. I've taken bits from here and there and kind of smushed them together so that you get a kind of overall idea of the point that Paley's trying to make, because he does go on at quite extreme lengths. He really labours the point. He really hammers it. He makes the same point over and over and over and over again. And I didn't think that you would fancy reading that. So I've not changed any of the words he's used. I've just kind of got rid of bits. So this is what he says. In crossing a heath, suppose I pitched my foot against a stone, and were asked how the stone came to be there. I might possibly answer that, for anything I knew to the contrary, it had lain there forever, nor would it perhaps be very easy to show the absurdity of this answer. But suppose I had found a watch upon the ground, and it should be inquired how the watch happened to be in that place. I should hardly think of the answer which I had before given, that, for anything I knew, the watch might have always been there. Yet why should this answer not serve for the watch as well as for the stone? Why is it not as admissible in the second case as in the first? For this reason, and for no other. When we come to inspect the watch, we perceive, which just means to see, what we could not discover in the stone, that its several parts are framed and put together for a purpose, e.g., that they are so formed and adjusted as to produce motion, and that motion so regulated as to point out the hour of the day, that, if the different parts had been differently shaped from what they are, of a different size from what they are, or placed after any other manner or in any other order than that in which they are placed, either no motion at all would have been carried on in the machine, or none which would have answered the use to which it is now served by it. This mechanism being observed, it requires indeed an examination of the instrument, and perhaps some previous knowledge of the subject to perceive and understand it. But being once, as we have said, observed and understood, the inference, that's just the kind of conclusion we think is inevitable, that the watch must have had a maker, that there must have existed at some time and at some place or other an artificer or artificers, which just means a maker or designer, who formed it for the purpose for which we find it actually to answer, who comprehended its construction and designed its use. Every indication of design which existed in the watch exists in the works of nature, with the difference on the side of nature being greater and more, and that in a degree which exceeds all computation, which just means kind of calculation or kind of way of working out. I know no better method of introducing so large a subject than that of comparing a single thing with a single thing, an eye, for example, with a telescope. As far as the examination of the instrument goes, there is precisely the same proof the eye was made for vision as there is that the telescope was made for assisting it. They are made upon the same principles, both being adjusted to the laws by which the transmission and refraction of rays of light are regulated. Accordingly, we find that the eye of a fish, and that particular of it called the crystalline lens, is much rounder than the eye of terrestrial animals. Terrestrial are just animals that walk on land. What planar manifestation of design can there be than this difference? And manifestation just means a way of showing something. Were there no example in the world of contrivance except that of the eye? So contrivance is just something that you make. So if there's no example in the world of something you make except that has been made except that of the eye, it would be alone sufficient to support the conclusion which we draw from it as to the necessity of an intelligent creator. It could never be got rid of because it could not be accounted for by any other supposition. Supposition is just a theory which did not contradict all the principles we possess of knowledge, the principles according to which things do, as often they can be brought to the test of experience, turn out to be true or false. So that is William Paley's outline of the design theory. Obviously, he's basically saying that if you look at natural things like eyes in various different animals, it's obvious that they have been designed with a purpose, and if they've been designed with a purpose, then they must have a designer, and he does that by comparing it to a watch. So what I want you to do for this task is just to go through that and find 4 KU points that can help you gain those marks in the exam. And then the second thing is to look at Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica, which is a summary of theology, which was written quite a long time before William Paley's, which is around about kind of 750 years ago, and he's talking about the cosmological argument. And so it's a lot shorter, this one, but perhaps a lot more in it, even though it is a much shorter piece of text. So this one goes as follows. The second way is from the nature of the efficient cause. And the efficient cause is just something that causes something to happen or creates something. In the world of sense, we find there is an order of efficient causes. There is no case known, neither is it indeed possible, in which a thing is found to be the efficient cause of itself. For so it would be prior to itself, which is impossible. Now, in efficient causes, it is not possible to go on to infinity, because in all efficient causes following in order, the first is the cause of the intermediate cause, and the intermediate cause is the ultimate cause, whether the intermediate cause be several or only one. Now, to take away the cause is to take away the effect. Therefore, if there be no first cause among efficient causes, there will be no ultimate nor any intermediate cause. But if in efficient causes it is possible to go into infinity, there will be no first efficient cause, neither will there be an ultimate effect, nor any intermediate efficient causes, all of which is plainly false. Therefore, it is necessary to admit to a first efficient cause, to which everyone gives the name of God. So, as I said, quite a lot shorter this time, but again, there is a huge amount of detail in there. He says quite a lot of complex things. What we would like you to do here, again, is just try and find 4 knowledge points that you can take out of that. If you're really struggling to find 4, do as much as you can and try and get as much as you can out of that. As ever, if you have any questions about this, please do ask, and we will do our best to answer them.